wish to preserve the Constitution in which we have sought to enshrine the principle of government of the people, for the people and by the people, let us resolve not to be tardy in the recognition of the evils that lie across our path and which induce people to prefer government for the people to government by the people, nor to be weak in our initiative to remove them. That is the only way to serve the country. I know of no better. These words were spoken by none other than the father of the Indian Constitution, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, on 25th November 1949, in his last speech addressed to the Constituent Assembly. They reveal to us the reverence he held towards our Constitution and the significance of sacrosanct principles that went into creating it. To quote his words, "If I find the Constitution being misused, I shall be the first to burn it." My name is Vanya Kesari, and this is a video essay on the turbulent story of the Indian Constitution. Firstly, we need to answer a very fundamental question. Why do we even need a constitution? The answer is simple: to provide a set of basic rules that allow for minimal coordination amongst members of a society. A society is always diverse in its composition. To help it achieve the same, a constitution legally enforces rules. Its other functions include delegation of power within the government and helping it achieve the aspirations of the society. The substantive provisions of the Constitution are quite effective. The more a constitution preserves the freedom and equality of all its members, the more likely it is to succeed. Everyone should be given an incentive to go along with its provisions. It is a balanced institutional arrangement with specified fragmentation of power, like the system of checks and balances, and is, interestingly, both rigid and flexible at the same time when it comes to amendments. This makes it authoritative and accessible in nature. And now comes the story of the birth of the revered Indian Constitution. Formally, the Constitution was made by the Constituent Assembly, which had been elected for undivided India. It held its first sitting on 9 December 1946 and reassembled as Constituent Assembly for divided India on 14 August 1947. Its members were chosen by indirect election by the members of the provincial legislative assemblies that had been established under the Government of India Act 1935. The Constituent Assembly was composed roughly along the lines suggested by the plan proposed by the Cabinet Mission. The Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949. 284 members were actually present on 24 January 1950 and appended their signature to the Constitution as finally passed. The Constitution finally came into force on 26 January 1950. Here is a recreation of the historic moment taken from the show Samvidhan.
It now remains to put the motion moved by Dr. Ambedkar to the vote of the House. The question is that the constitutions settled by this assembly be passed. Aye. 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 The motion is adopted. Bharat Mata ki Jai! Mata ki
My chosen topic for conducting a case study was none other than the first ever formal Constituent Assembly meeting held in 1946 and conducted in New Delhi. The meeting began at 11 o'clock on the chilly morning of 9 December. It was commenced by the election of an interim chairman, Dr. Sajidanand Sinha. Messages of goodwill from the embassies of America, China and Australia were read out. Under his watch, the members took oath. Then, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the permanent president, who then gave an impactful speech. This was followed by an election petition from Khan Abdus Samad Khan of British Balochistan, the chairman's inaugural address, and nomination of deputy chairman. On the historic day of 13 December, Pandit Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru presented before the Constituent Assembly a document that was to lay the foundation of our Constitution. And this was the Aims and Objectives Resolution.
Mr. Chairman, the resolution that I am placing before you defines our aims and describes an outline of the plans and points to the way which we are going to tread. The resolution that I place before you is in the nature of a pledge, and I hope the House will pass this resolution, which is of a special nature.
From India's independence, unity and sovereignty to equality and fundamental rights of citizens of New India, Pandit Nehru's proposal covered many subjects. 8 main points were covered in the resolution by him, and using a few words, he drew the map of our future constitution. Based on this resolution, our constitution gave expression to these fundamental commitments: equality, liberty, democracy, sovereignty, and a cosmopolitan identity. It is a tribute to the wisdom and foresight of the makers of the Constitution that they presented to the nation a document that enshrined fundamental values and highest aspirations shared by the people. This is one of the reasons why this most intricately crafted document has not only survived but become a living reality, when so many other constitutions have perished with the paper they were first written on.